What if there was a way that parents could have a coach on their side helping them help their kids get where they both want to be? Is being motivated for sports, punishment, conditioning, are those things bad? Having a player-coach relationship is very, very important. It can't ever be player-friend, coach-friend relationship. It has to be player-coach relationship, and I think that's the same way with the parent. I can tell you this, the coaches that motivated me and had high expectations of me and challenged me to be the best person and player that I could be every day, those are the coaches I remember. Those are my favorite coaches, and I think they had the most effect on me of who I am today. You know what? Enough talk already. I'm ready to get the show started. Let's get this thing going. Somebody light this candle.
And we're here at the No Timeouts Left.com studios, still doing a little bit of renovation. I hope you don't think that this is a spousal togetherness instruction, because as far as it goes with husbands and wives, I don't know. You got me. You're going to have to go somewhere else to find out about that stuff. But my mom's been married twice. My dad's been married 4 times. He's on his 4th. I'm still on my 2nd right now, hopefully my last. And my current wife, this is her 3rd. I'm her 3rd. So as far as husband and wife relationships, this is not a husband and wife relationship program. This is for your children and helping them such that when they get to be where they are with a husband, with a wife, with a spouse, then they'll know how to deal with those situations. The biggest issue is when you're getting married and you have someone else that's also together in charge, that's also making decisions with you. When you come from being an independent person and then you go to sharing decisions and sharing efforts, and there's a lot of things that go on there, and a lot of times, or majority of time, things that happened to you when you were a child, if you're a dude, how you have relations with your mom. Are you nice to your mom? Are you mean to your mom? Or do you take care of your mom? Those kind of things are going to translate into a female spouse. How you treat a woman if you're a woman, a daughter. How do you have relationships with your dad? Those relationships are going to be very significant when you have a husband, when you have a dude, and you're going to say, how do I do this? Well, your knowledge of what to do, a lot of that comes with, first of all, seeing your parents with their relationship, how they got along together, and noticing those things as you were getting older. And the other one is just having a good relationship with your opposite gender parent. So that way you have a good relationship with your opposite gender spouse. Well, today I wanted to go back a little bit on what we talked about before was relationships. We had our first 12 relationships, which was number 1, parents, and this was kind of in order of when they happened. 2 is a grandparent, aunt and uncle. 3 is other caregivers, daycare workers, Mrs. Johnson, Mrs. Sally, Mrs. Rhonda, all those ones that you have if your kids go to daycare. Other siblings. You really don't recognize that you even have other siblings until, a couple of months old, maybe 1 or 2. And then friends. Then you get friends. At some point you get friends. You get friends when you're 2. You get friends when you're 3 years old. Other friends' parents. If you can think about Eddie Haskell and other friends' siblings, Beaver and Wally. You also get into classmates and then teammates as you get older. Teachers, principals, coaches, instructors, girlfriends, boyfriends. Then now you have children. Now you have to have relationships with your children's friends' parents. And then you become a grandparent and have grandchildren. Those are some relationships. So those relationships are very important. But a lot of those are kind of a nuclear family areas. Some other ones that I wanted to make sure that we talked about was another 9 different relationships that you're going to run into as you get older. And a lot of the previous ones that I just mentioned are going to have a lot to do with how you deal with and cope with these other relationships. Number 1, a boss. What is your relationship with a boss? You're going to have to be ready to deal with a boss at some point, whenever that is, a boss. It's going to be different than a parent. Now it's your boss. Also, other co-workers. And for coaches, that's other coaches in the industry, maybe even other teachers. And then you have employees. If you're a business owner, you have employees. If you are a coach, then you have players. If you have a business, then you have customers. In the sports world, with the select ball and club volleyball and select baseball and whatnot, basketball, those customers are the parents. Those are your customers. You got to learn how to deal with parents. Oh, the parents. Oh, the parents. We got some good stories on the parents. Also, when you have your own business, you got to learn how to deal with vendors, suppliers, equipment people, making sure that you know how to have a relationship with those folks. Number 18 is mentors, pastors, priests, and reverends. Those are very specific type of relationships when you have those people. Number 19 is a higher power. At some point, recognizing that you can't do this on your own, that you need a higher power. Number 20 is yourself. Having a relationship with yourself. Being happy with yourself. Liking yourself. Loving yourself. Then you can love and like others. Loving yourself, understanding yourself, using self-talk, and then being able to have relationships with others once you make sure that you like yourself, you love yourself, and you are happy with yourself. And then finally, the one that is a struggle for a lot of people is strangers, new people you don't know. Sometimes they're called foreigners. And foreigners, I don't mean foreigners that from somewhere else, but when you use some of the professional parenting verbiage videos, you're going to hear the word foreigners in there quite a bit. So think about foreigners as strangers, foreigners as people that you don't already know. And I can't tell you how many great friends that I have made after high school, after college. Great friends, lifelong friends. I really thought that those friends that I had in school, that they would be my lifelong friends. And I have one that I've been friends with since, I don't know, maybe 50 years. No, less than that. But we've been friends a long time, and we've been best friends for a long time. I think he'd say the same. I certainly would say the same, that we've been friends and we've been competitors. We were always on the best teams, playing against each other when we were younger. We were on the same team when we got older. And still today, he's still my best friend, and I could tell him anything. I think he could tell me anything also. But I have made new, really good friends over these past several years, even as an older person. And the majority of those new friends are the parents of my kids' friends, because we're all right there together. So my kids have friends, and then their parents are who we hang around all the time. Sometimes you like them, sometimes you don't, but you still need to learn how to have relationships with even the ones that you don't really want to hang out with. And you're going to find out you're going to make a lot of good relationships with some of the ones you do. And plenty of them didn't like me at the first, but then they liked me later. And plenty of them liked me at the first, but they didn't like me later. So it runs the gamut. Anyways, each step in the relationship progressional model is very important. Your relationship with your children and their relationship with you is going to be very instrumental and potentially helpful or hurtful as they get older and they have relationships with other people. And we'll talk about that more later on. I just want to make sure that we kind of went over some other relationships just beside the parents, siblings, grandparents. You have those. You have the inner nuclear people in your friends, but then you also have these other things that you're going to have to learn how to develop and be able to have a relationship with bosses, with coworkers, with a higher power, with yourself, and with strangers and foreigners. And as we get to our first time out, I want to remind everybody, if you could, send us some likes, some shares, some hearts. And if you have any questions, call us, or not call us, what am I talking about? Hold on. I forgot to blow the whistle. Now it's a timeout number one. make sure you email us, Coach Okra at notimeoutsleft.com. If you would, send us some questions about maybe you're having a particular issue with the child, or you know a friend that has a particular issue with their child and they're looking for help, and maybe you're the person who they're looking for. We have dealt with all the different types, and we'll go over that more later in our next 2 sessions. But send us the questions, also successes. Some of the successes that we get are people whose kids are now moved on to that next level of getting married and having kids. I don't want to know about my kid's 4 years old and man, what a great success we had up until 4 and now the kid's great. You don't know the kid's great yet. They may be great at 4, but they haven't even got into some of the relationship areas that are going to be huge issues as they get older. Wait till they get to be 13. Wait till they get to be 17. Then tell me what a great 4-year-old you had. Then tell me. All right, back with our second section. How can we take some examples in sports and help those examples help us with making good athletes and also raising good kids and help us work toward those things? I've got about 27 or 28 of them. I'm just going to go over the first 9. Okay, just the first 9. Number 1. Well, when you coach 100 kids a year, you see a lot of interesting patterns. That's to start out with. But number 1, there's some different motivation techniques. Whenever you have players, also children, there's different motivation techniques. All the motivation techniques don't work on everyone. Each motivation technique doesn't work all the time. There's kids that respond to, I don't think you can do it. And there's kids that respond to, hey, we're really counting on you. The team's counting on you. You're the best player on the team. And get out there and do your job, and we'll be right behind you. Some kids need I don't think you can do it. You're not good enough. Maybe this isn't your sport. And they respond very well when you use those techniques, that particular one. And I don't know this to be true, but I use this one all the time. There was a kid that was probably 5'7" or 5'9", wanted to play football, and he wanted to play linebacker. He wanted to play middle linebacker. And when he was in Pee Wees, they said, no, you're too small. Coach, give me a chance. I won't let you down. No, you're too small. I'm sorry. We had to put you somewhere else. It just so happened that he was able to get in the game, and he did fantastic. Then he gets to junior high football. Said, Coach, I want to play middle linebacker. Nah, you're too small. Sorry, can't do it. Each level, he kept getting the same thing. We don't think you can do it. You're not big enough. When he got to varsity, Coach, I want to play middle linebacker. Sorry, you're too small. Can't do it. When he got to college at a big school, Coach, I want to play middle linebacker. Nope, you're not big enough at this level. When he got to the NFL, I'm sure they said, I can't believe this guy's big enough. But obviously he's doing good. You're probably not big enough for our team, but we'll put you in there. He did fantastic. And each level, when they said, you can't do it, you're too small, that only motivated him to do more. That only motivated him to do better and work harder. And he was a fantastic middle linebacker in the NFL. Now, I don't know if the way I tell it is exactly how it is, but I do use that example quite a bit. The motivation techniques of, I don't think you can do it. Some of the players, you're right, Coach, I probably can't. My youngest daughter, when she was playing on a volleyball team with a different coach, I was sitting in the stands like a good parent should, not coaching your own kids. I was sitting in the stands, and the coach asked my daughter when it was set point, game point, whatever, when she was going back to serve, can you do this? And she said, nope, I can't. All the other kids were saying, can you do this? Can you do this? Nope, I can't. So she took her out, put somebody else in there. And I know that daughter really wishes she could go back and repeat that moment again, but it's gone. You have different personalities for different ones. One of the things that I've changed in some of the things I do when a girl's going back to serve and it's after a timeout, it's after a long time, is I tell them, I've noticed that if I say, all right, we just need this one good serve and we'll be good. Boom, it's in the net, it's out of bounds, it's terrible. So something I've changed most of the time is I'll say, you know what, I don't think you can do this. There's no chance this is happening. No chance you're getting this serve over. No chance you're getting an ace. And normally there's a positive result after I do that. So we're working with that. Also, being part of a team versus being on an individual sport. When you play golf, when you play tennis, when you play racquetball, when you do, let's see, what's another one? I can't think of another one. But when you do those sports, you don't have to count on anybody, and no one else is counting on you. When you're out there playing golf, it's you. It's your swing. It's your hard work. It's your diligence that you try to commit to being the best player that you could be. When you're on a team, you are counting on the rest of the team to do good so they can help you. The rest of the team is counting on you to do good so you can help them. And the dynamic of a team sport versus an individual sport is very, very noticeable. That mediocre players don't like high achievers, and high achieving players don't like mediocre players. But they have them as teammates. Now what do? Whenever I'm coaching a volleyball team and I'm watching on the court and I see we got 5 girls out of the 6 that are just playing their tails off and diving and running into walls and running here and doing that and making plays, and the one girl is over here and she's just standing there letting everybody else do everything, and that just drives me crazy because I know that those hard-working players on the court, they're looking at me saying, Coach, do you have somebody else that you put in here? And I look over at the bench and nope. For this particular rotation, that's the best we got. So I'm sorry. But I try to coach up that one other player so we can have 6 on the court that are busting their tail and doing good stuff. So knowing whether your child should be in an individual sport or knowing whether they should be in a team sport, that's something you really need to look at, really need to find out. Give them an opportunity to play golf on some local city or county or state tournament. Get them into a tennis program. See how they do in an individual sport. And then compare that to how they are in a team sport, because that's a way different dynamic whenever you have that. Attitudes are contagious, positive or negative. When you come in and you have a good attitude and you're cheering everybody on and you're encouraging everyone on the team, a lot of other people say, hey, that player's good and they're saying good stuff. Why don't I say good stuff too? Why don't I also help encourage the teammates that are out here? We always try to get players to encourage each other, especially when you're playing against a good competitive team on the other side. But negative attitudes also bring everybody down. Why is she here? Why is he here? Can't believe he brings that bad attitude in here. It just brings the rest of us down. Make sure your kids have a good attitude. If they have a bad attitude, make sure when they get to the door and they come in that it's gone. And it's a new positive attitude. One of my college team members that we had, she was from a bad area of town. I think she was raised by her grandmother, and she had a bad attitude. My best 2 players, my left side player and my right side player, both had terrible attitudes. They cussed me out all the time in practice. This is in college. And they were cussing me out here, they're cussing me out there. But I only had 6 people, so it's not like I could get rid of them because we'd had to forfeit. So I figured out a way to deal with these 2 individuals. They were obviously my best players. I'm not obviously, but I'm telling you, they were my best players. There's no question. But they had terrible attitudes. They had foul language. But you know what I recognized is it's how they were raised. They had no mom that raised them. They had no dad that raised them. One of them was raised by her aunt. One of them was raised by her grandmother. Okay, so now here I have them at college. And they're playing on a team in college. And I told them, together, I am so happy that you guys have a terrible attitude. Because if you didn't, you'd be playing at some big Division I school right now, and I wouldn't have the opportunity to coach you. So I appreciate that you have a terrible attitude. And after that, we were good. The one girl, even when she wanted to go on to a bigger school, she called me on the phone and she said, Coach, would you give me an endorsement? Would you tell the other coach how good a player I am, what a great person I am? And I'm thinking, is this the same girl that we just had the issue with? And I said, you know what? I'll do that for you, but I want you to do something for me. I said, this coach, the team that you're going to, the college you're going to, they don't know you. They don't know who you are. But let me give you this piece of advice. If you want to do this, I think you'll like it. I want you to play the role of a fantastic volleyball player who makes fantastic grades, who's happy to be on the court, who is very coachable, and enjoys playing the sport that she's playing, and enjoys the opportunity that she can get there. I know that's not you, but what I want you to do is play the role. You want to be an actress? Okay, here's your chance. You're going to play the role of a great volleyball player who goes to class, who comes to practice with a good attitude, and you're going to love life, and you're going to be very appreciative for all your teammates and very appreciative of your coach. If you can do that for me, then I'll make sure I call the coach and I'll let him know how good you are and what a great person you are. Is that fair? She goes, okay, coach, I'll do it. All right. And then there she went. She went to that school. The other player who had a terrible attitude, but she was my best player, she was all conference, is that one time I asked her to move up. This is about the middle of the season. One time I asked her to move up, and she didn't cuss me out. It's the first time in the whole season that she hadn't cussed me out halfway through the season. So I called timeout. I said, everybody, come on in, come on in, come on in. They said, what? Why are we calling timeout? I said, I just want to recognize that this is the first time that I asked her to move, and she didn't cuss me out. So let's get out there. Let's pass, serve, hit, score some points. And we broke out. And she thought that was the funniest thing she ever heard. And later on in that season, we'd already had group and individual pictures taken. And I was moved and touched at the end of the season when it was time for her to go to a new place that she said, Coach, I want that picture of me and you that we took. That got me. That got me. Of all the fighting that we did throughout the season and all the trouble and all the cussing out and all the strife that we had, and there's some other stuff I don't want to go into that was going on with her, but I enjoyed the heck out of coaching, great athlete. I just had to figure out, with that attitude that they had, both of them, I had to figure out how to overcome that. I had to figure out how to make that a positive, and I did, and we did fantastic that year in our school, and those girls went on to do some really good things. Is your child coachable? What are you, as a parent, telling your kid in the car, on the way to practice, on the way to the tournaments, and then after? What are you telling them? Are you coaching them? Do you know enough about this sport to be able to coach them? Do you know enough about this position to be able to coach them? Do you want to be their coach, or do you want to be their parent? You can't be both. You can't coach as a parent. You can't parent as a coach. It's very difficult, and you see that struggle going on all the time. I heard a story once that Tom Landry Jr. was playing Pee Wee football under a different coach. And his dad, obviously Tom Landry, was the coach of the Cowboys. And Tom Landry Jr. came back after football practice and was telling his dad a few things. Dad this, Dad that, we did this, we did that. And Tom Landry is said to have said to his son, Tom, you really need to do it this way. You really need to do it this way. And he said, Dad, what do you know about football? This is my coach telling me this stuff. I got to do what the coach says. That is a good one. So is your child coachable? If you're telling your kid from the stands, if you're telling your kid from the sidelines, do this, do that, your coach, or the kid's coach, you don't trust them. You need to go somewhere else. You need to take your kid to a different place. If you don't trust that coach to do the right thing, and you don't believe in that coach, then you need to go somewhere else. You just absolutely need to go somewhere else. And find a coach that you believe in, that you trust. Because if the players can't trust what the coach is saying, if the players aren't hearing, if the athletes aren't hearing from the parents, man, that coach is good. Do whatever he says. I'm so happy with this coach. He's the best coach. She's the best coach. I'm so proud to be with this group, with this organization, because they got great coaches here. If your kids are hearing those kind of things, that's going to translate to the court, and they're going to come up there with a great attitude, and they're going to be coachable, and they're going to do what the coach asks them to do. But if you're saying on the way home, if you're saying on the way to practice, whatever the coach says, you do something else. And whenever we get to the games, I'll tell you where to serve it. I'll tell you where to hit it. I'll tell you where to pass it. I'll tell you who to throw it to in football. I'll tell you where to hit it in baseball. If you don't trust your coach, then you need to go somewhere else. Another one in this same area is when the parents are yelling at the officials, the referees, the umpires, whoever it is. In essence, what they're saying is our coach doesn't know enough about the game to be able to make a correct, pertinent comment to the officials at this particular time. So we, as the fans, we, as the parents, we need to say something to the officials. I always try to encourage my parents of my players on my teams, please do not talk to the officials. Because in general, those officials are my friends. Those officials, I probably coached their daughter in volleyball. I may have coached their sons in football. I may have coached them. And these are officials that I've known for a long time. And I don't need a parent making comments to the officials, because that tells me that you don't believe in me as a coach, that I know exactly what to say. Therefore, you need to go find another team where you do believe in that coach. And maybe that's you. Maybe you need to coach your own child. That's a fun one. Good luck. My kid's the best player on the team, and I'm not just saying that because I'm her mother, because I'm her father, because I'm her aunt, because I'm her grandmother. Coaches, we hear that all the time, especially in select sports and club sports. Not so much on the school teams. The school teams let the coaches do whatever because they don't think they're getting much help there, so they can't wait for club or select sports where they can actually do some things. And so when that kid comes from the B team on their school team, and that kid comes from the JV when she's a junior, and she tries to come over and play club sports or select sports if it's a dude playing baseball, well, they're on the B team. Well, they're on the JV when they're a junior or whatever. You hear a lot of the same things from parents. Well, it's all political over there, and that coach, he plays his favorites, and it's all political. Or really, my kid is the best player on the team. That coach just don't like him. That coach just don't like her. That coach just only plays their favorites, and my kid's not one of the favorites. We had a situation on one of my teams one time. This I think it was a 6th grade team. And everybody was serving terrible. I think it was our very first tournament. They were all serving terrible. And everybody was nervous. They're 12 or 11 years old. Next practice, one of the parents came up to me and said, what are we going to do about this? And I said, what are you going to do about what? Well, my kid needs better players on the team. Obviously, my kid is the best player on the team, and I'm not just saying that because I'm her mom. And I, of course, heard it 1,000 times. So I said, I'm going to try something. Just see what happens. I said, that is so interesting that you say that, because just before you came and talked to me, 5 other sets of parents came up to me and told me their daughter was the best player on the team, and they said they weren't just saying it because that's their parents. And she goes, well, we know that's not right. Anyways, back to what I was saying. She just flew it off. It was nothing. And she kept on going. Obviously, all of them were terrible, and I'm sure they were out of volleyball by the time they were in 7th grade. Is the coach political? He only plays his favorites. I hear that one all the time. Coaches playing their favorites. Well, let me just tell you this. From a coach, if you're doing what I ask you to do, you're my favorite. I would rather have somebody that can do the things or make the effort to try to do the things that I'm trying to get them to do, rather than someone who could do them but decides they're going to do their own thing. They're going to go rogue. They're going to run a different route than I told them as a coach for a receiver. They're going to throw to someone else different than I told them to when they were quarterback. They're going to serve to a different spot. I had a girl just this year. Well, it happens all the time, but in this year in particular. And we were doing tryouts, and I asked the girl to hit here, hit here, hit here. I wanted to see if she had the ability to be able to follow instructions. I didn't care if she was able to hit it there. I wanted to see if she made the effort to try to hit it there. And I said, why aren't you hitting there? Oh, I don't really want to hit it over there. I want to hit it over somewhere else. Okay, fantastic. She's not on my team. Not on my team. Go somewhere else. Let somebody else deal with that. I want somebody I can't believe you would even say that to the coach. Oh, I want to do something else. I didn't want to do what you told me to do. I'm going to do something else. Well, that's not a good attitude to have. I always play the players who do what I ask them to do, make the effort to do what I ask them to do. I would rather have that than a rogue person that's out there, because that gets everybody messed up. And then you have a cancer on the team, and now everybody's falling apart. So, yeah, the coaches are political. They do play their favorites. It's the ones who do what the coaches ask them to do. Does your kid put the work in to have the opportunity to earn a spot at the position that they want to play? Are they working hard at doing the things they need to do to play shortstop, to be the quarterback, to be a receiver, to be the nose guard? Because somebody else over there, you don't know how hard they're working. When a number of years ago, they asked a girl who was the MVP of the NCAA volleyball, women's volleyball, national volleyball, all the top teams. And she was not very tall, but she blocked right front. She was a setter. And they asked her one time, I think when she was getting her award for MVP of the NCAA volleyball, they asked her team also won the national championship that year. They asked her, what do you attribute your success to? And she said, well, obviously we're one of the top programs in the country. And the coach is recruiting new players to come here all the time. I realize I'm not very tall. And I realize if somebody else comes here, all the great setters that are coming to this school who want to play, they're really good setters. But you know what? I made the vow that they may be able to be the best setter somewhere else, but they're not going to be a setter here. And so if we had practice at 5 o'clock in the morning, I would get there at 4:45. If we had 20 push-ups to do, and I watched those other setters, I would try to do one more than them. If we ran, I would run just further than them. If we did sprints, I would run one more than they did. If we did crunches, I would do one more than they did. If they got there at 4:45, I got there at 4:44. There was going to be no chance for those girls to outwork me. And they may be the top setter in the world, and they could have been the top setter in the world, but there's one place that they weren't going to be, and that's right here. Not at this school. Not when I'm here. Maybe after I'm gone, then they can do it, but not while I'm here. And that's because she wanted that spot. She earned that spot. She was committed to making that spot hers, and that anybody else was going to have to outwork her. And obviously they didn't, because she made the Olympic team the next year. Whenever you're a team or individual sports, you always want to have some type of a goal. And you want to have a timeline associated with that goal. Whether it's, I want to be able to throw the football 40 yards by the time I'm in 7th grade. And maybe I'm in 3rd grade right now and I throw it 20 yards. And I want to work up, what do I got to do to get there? If I'm a batter, I want to have my average to be 400. I want my bat speed to be this fast. I want to be able to hit opposite field majority of the time by this particular time in my baseball career. I want to be able to control the ball, serve it here, pass the ball in this particular spot with these many options by the time I'm this age. And then I want to do it by whenever. And then have the goals, and then have a timeline. By when. By when. If you don't have a by when, then there's no urgency to get it done. There is no urgency. If it's not a by when, then you're not going to be able to do those things. It's not going to mean anything to you. So goals and timelines in written form. And then number 9, competing at a high level. What does it take to compete at a high level? You know, when I was in high school, I was a pretty good pitcher. I was a pretty good quarterback. I was a pretty good infielder. When I got to college, it was a different program. People ask me, what's the difference between playing in high school and playing in college? Well, I was still the same level of good that I was in high school that I was in college. The difference was when I did stuff in college, I had to do it at my 110% best effort every time in order to compete with those other players. And same thing in baseball. I recognized when I tried out for the Cincinnati Reds, I recognized real quick that the competition level is more than I can do. The requirements are more than my abilities. And I didn't do the baseball thing. I did the football thing. But yeah, San Diego State was looking at me. Arizona State wanted me to come out there. But I ended up choosing to play football and go the football route. I ended up still getting to play baseball on our team and also on the volleyball team while I was there. So that still worked out pretty good. But competing at a high level, what does it take? It takes a lot. Just my example of the volleyball girl doing all those things that she did. I tell all my players this, whatever sport it is, you want to play college? You want to play the next level? You need to have the attitude of first one in the gym, last one to leave. First one on the field, last one to leave. You want to have the thought of enjoying to go to practice, enjoying to do the extra work. If you have that attitude, you are going to absolutely love college sports. Absolutely love it. But if you are not that person, if you don't want to be the first one there, if you're not willing to be the last one to leave, then you do not need to play college sports because it is going to wear you out. And just because you're not college level, that doesn't mean you're not a fantastic person. You can still be a fantastic person. But once you get to the college level, those coaches are serious. And all that hard work that you did in high school for baseball or football or volleyball or tennis or whatever it was, these coaches are serious. That's nothing what you did before compared to what they're going to be asking you to do now. And you got to be willing to want to get better and to want to have knowledge of what it takes to play at the next level. And what sometimes you can see, and I talk to my volleyball team about this, all my volleyball teams about this, is that this year you're going to learn, especially 9th, 10th grade, you're going to learn whether volleyball is your sport or not this year. And you're going to be able to look at that other side and you're going to see how good those players are. And you're going to say, you know what, coach, if I work really hard and keep doing the things I'm doing, I think I can be just as good as those girls over there. Or on the other side, you know what, I don't care how much I work, what I do, I'm not willing to do what it takes to be as good as those people over there. So I probably need to turn in my knee pads. You know what? You probably do. You're going to, on my teams, you're going to find out that real quick, whether I'm good enough or not, because I'm going to put you in situations where you're going to find out if you have the mettle, METTLE, to be able to do the tough things, the characteristics to be a quality player, a top-level player. Because I've seen it. I've been there. I know them. I've played with them. So in order to have what it takes to play at a higher level, you have to have what it takes mentally, also physically, to play at the next level. Let's take out timeout number 2. If you would, send us an email, coachokra@notimeoutsleft.com. Send us some likes, hearts, and shares on our YouTube page. I'm trying to get something on Facebook, but sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But also, we're trying to get a few other platforms. Our website, notimeoutsleft.com. I'm going to have some videos on there. Also, don't forget about our professional parenting verbiage videos that we'll have. If they're not already up there, they'll be up there really soon. Check out those, 31, one for each day of the month. And we'll get to that pretty soon. Also, let's get to section number 3. I have seen a few things over the years. One of the reasons I wanted to do this is because I have seen so many things. I've been in some interesting situations. They've been interesting to me. If they're interesting to you, fine. If they're not, I get it. But I married into an immediate family when I was 25. She already had a 2-year-old. A few years later, we had 4 more kids, 3 kids in diapers at the same time. None of them were twins. So 11 months, 14 months. So we had 3 within 25 months. 3 kids in diapers at the same time. So there's 5 girls. Then, when I got married the second time, she has 2 boys. And then she's got an additional adopted son into the family. So here's 8 kids that are going on. 8 kids. Ranging from way up to way over here. So that's one area of knowledge and experience that I have on those type issues. First of all, the stepchildren program. Second of all, the adopted kid program. And then your own kids, a bunch together. How do you do all these things? How do you put each one of them in their crib? How do you get 1 in there, much less 3 in there? Parents tell me all the time, I'm having trouble getting my kid asleep. Well, what if you had 3 of them that were that way? 1 kid trying to get asleep? That's the easy life. Wait till you have 2. Wait till you have 3. And now one of them wakes up. Now they all wake up. They're all right there. So 1 kid, 2 kids, I don't know. That's easy. Try 3 in diapers. Changing the diapers, doing all the potty training, doing all the going to the functions. Your kids find out a bunch of stuff when they have 3 of the same age. The mom goes to one event, the dad goes to the other event. Who is the one that the grandparent has to go to? That's when you find out. That's a good one, because you can't beat all of them. They're all at the same time. I was in the process of getting the contract to run the Oklahoma Federal Building, run their daycare center. I was in the process of doing it. It was in the final stages that I was going to take over the daycare center at the Oklahoma Federal Building in the 90s, if you remember that. And I think it was 93, 94. I was already in the process. It came down to 2 or 3 different people because I guess it was a contract. It wasn't an organization. It was a contract, and we wanted to take it over and be the daycare provider for the Oklahoma Federal Building. That's how into the daycare portion I was. I was ready to do that. I was ready to have the people, ready to go, moving in, doing the curriculum, coming up with the programs. And they got bombed. It got bombed. I don't know how many of you think, you know what, I could have been in that situation. If I would have put my application in maybe 2 years early, 3 years earlier, and I ended up getting it, if you remember, it was the daycare center that everybody was concerned about. It was all those kids that were in the daycare center. Sometimes, you know, you get that angel on your shoulder. Just, whoo, that could have been a tough one. When I did work at the daycare center I worked at, I was in charge of the 3, 4, and 5-year-olds and also the after-schoolers. We talked about that before. I was a bouncer at night, so I got to deal with the crazies at the club. It was an awesome club, one of the most prestigious clubs in our area at the time, and dealing with those people was crazy. I just also have an assortment of friends and acquaintances who have very interesting situations with their kids. And those friends, those acquaintances, I'm going to be referring to them as Steve from St. Louis, Stacy from St. Paul. Because they know who they are, but I'm not going to say who they are. I'm just going to use Steve from St. Louis, Stacy from St. Paul. And because of that, I think I'm able to recognize, because of my daycare experience, because of my background, because of having my own kids and dealing with all these things, is that I have a perspective on them and recognize what would have worked if they would have done it earlier, where the situation is. And no one had a book on parenting. No one had the knowledge base that you guys are going to get here. No one had those things. It was just, we're doing the best we can. This is what my dad did. This is what my mom did. Well, some of them who say this is what my mom or dad did, they didn't have moms or dads. So who are they going by? Who are they using as their experience? There's a good chance it's a coach. A coach helped raise them. A coach helped prepare them for life skills. A coach, they're using what the coach did. Okay, well, let's try to put that together in a positive way. What did the coach do? What did the instructor do? What do the mentors do? Who's a role model that you could use to try to help your kids? When I played at college football, we had some tough son of a guns. They were tough. They were hard. They grew up in bad situations right and left. But I still keep up with a lot of those guys. And you know what? They're great parents now. They have their kids. They do a lot of good things. They're always doing things with their kids. And I think it was because they're trying to do almost something opposite of whatever their parents did, if they even had parents. If they had parents there raising them up. And I bet a lot of them didn't. On the other side, I know many parents who didn't have parents help them when they were growing up, and then they worked real hard to try to provide a better life for their kids, and then their kids had issues. If you look in Chronicles and Kings in the Bible, you'll notice that there was a great king, best ever, and his kid, worst king ever. His kid, great king. His kid, worst king ever. It went like this throughout Chronicles and Kings. And you'll notice that the better the king was, the more spoiled his kid was. The more spoiled that kid was, he was terrible. But because he didn't spend as much time with his kid, because he was spoiled, his kid ended up being a great king. Or they were doing opposite things. Up, down, up, down. You just see greatest king ever, worst king ever. Greatest king ever, worst king ever. And a lot of parents, they came from situations where they didn't have a quality parenting growing up, that they ended up being with their grandmother because that's where they were left to, that their mom or dad is in drugs or in jail for doing drugs or whatever it is, or some other thing happened. They died or got killed or lost their life somehow. That's tough to grow up like that. If you know the song, A Boy Named Sue, Johnny Cash sings a song called Boy Named Sue. And if you listen to that song, you realize that the song describes from the father's perspective why he named his boy Sue. He said, I know I'm not going to be around all the time. And I knew if I named you Sue, that this would help you grow up, that this would help you become a man, that this would help you stand up for yourself. So I did it for you. I know you hate me because I did it, but I did this for you so you could learn how to be a man and learn how to stand on your own 2 feet and learn how to fight for yourself and fight for your family. And that's why I did it. But Sue didn't really like that, but he was going to name his kid George or Bill or anything but Sue. Here is a few things that might be interesting to you. These are just 10 of however many we have. These are the first 10. I think there's 30 of them. Working with strong-willed children. Is that of interest to you? Do you have strong-willed children? Strong-willed son, strong-willed daughter? Is that of interest to you? How about getting a handle on discipline? Whether it's grounding, punishment, pain and pleasure, separation. Whenever I worked at the daycare center, their form of discipline was something called a timeout. You're in timeout for 30 seconds. Why I named this program No Timeouts Left is because of that situation. You're in timeout. Great. The kid would sit over there, sitting right in the group with everybody else, and after timeout, then they would go play and whatever. Okay, and that was the structure. You're in timeout, okay, whatever. But you're in timeout with the group. You're in timeout right over here. There was no separation into another room. It was timeout right here. Soon, the kids recognized that there was no pain associated with the timeout. And they would go sit in the chair, the timeout chair, and then they're supposed to be there for, let's say, 30 seconds. After 5 seconds, they would just take off running and doing stuff and getting in trouble again. Okay, what do you say now? Oh, now you're really in timeout. Now you're in timeout for a full minute. And then they get up after 10 seconds, they run around and break things and mess with people's blocks and toys and everything else. Now what are you going to do? Okay, now you're really in timeout. In essence, timeouts, grounding is not something that works. What works is, in that situation, how it works is that the relationship to the parent, the relationship to the caregiver is so strong that there's disappointment there that I've disappointed you as my father. I've disappointed you as my mother. Now the timeout works. Not just you're in timeout, go play. The separation, which is used a lot in the Bible, you'll notice, when something happened, they separated from the group. They separated them over here. The way that separation works is you have to have a dynamic relationship already. That has to be a fundamental relationship that you care about what the person who's telling you, go over there, go to your room, go and separate over there, go spend the night with someone else. You have to know the children have to have a strong bond relationship with the person that's telling them that. It happens in sports too. When I talk to certain players and I see them crying, I see them not able to do some of the things, and they're really down on themselves, I say, what's wrong? I'm letting you down. I don't want to let you down. As long as you're doing what I ask you to do, make an effort to do what I'm asking you to do, if we mess up, we mess up. We're going to keep working and getting better. You're not letting me down by trying to do the things I'm asking you to do. You would let me down if you were trying to do something else. You're trying to get good at a bad technique, and that's not going to help you later on. So if you can do what I'm asking you to do right now, then you are doing exactly what I want you to do, and I'm very happy and proud of what you're doing. So you keep working hard. And all the time, girls are bawling because they can't do something or it's not working out like they want it to. And we as coaches have to deal with and cope with your kids' other issues. It's not just that, but other issues. So when they say they don't want to let me down, they don't want to let their teammates down, that means a lot. That's awesome. I really appreciate those players, those kids that have that attitude. I don't want to let you as the coach down, because you know why? Because that means I made a strong bond with them. And some players, they could give a frog's fat butt if they let me down or not. Okay, whatever. Okay, but these particular ones, they want to make sure that because we've developed a good relationship and a good bond, that they don't want to let me down. They don't want to let their teammates down. Well, I like that. It's fantastic. ADHD children, the drugs that they're prescribing now, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Long term. Long term. Now, maybe not right now, but what is it going to do long term? Autism kids, could they be the smartest one in the room? The guy who I learned my golf swing from, some say he's autistic. He put all of his energy into the golf swing and the angles, all these things that he did. And here I am, some dude who's autistic, and I'm taking golf lessons from them. Is that good? Well, he was really good. Everybody knew he was really good. And I got really good just because I was taking instructions from this person. And he put all his chips in this basket on how to do this. And he was world renowned for being able to do those things. So sometimes it's just a matter of how you look at it. Children with a lack of confidence. Do you have a child with a lack of confidence? You feel like maybe you have a lot of confidence, and now here you have this child who doesn't have confidence. How do you not have confidence? That was one of the most important things that I tried to get across to my children, is the confidence part and how to play the role of having confidence, how to fake it till you make it in confidence. Things that you could say to your friends. You got that peer pressure going on. How do I turn away or say no to my friend who's asking me to do this and I don't want to do it, and I know it's wrong, but I feel like if I don't do it, they're going to make fun of me or something. Well, if you can go over those things prior to the situation when they're younger, be ready for this to occur. Do a role play with your children on things that might happen. We'll go over that more later on. Children with different personalities than their parents. The parent's an introvert, the kid's an extrovert. The parent's a talk loud person, the child is a talk low person. The child's a talk loud person, the parent is a talk low person. So it's different, talk high person. Either way. How do you deal with kids that have different personalities? And, when you look at your own kids, you say, how did these 3 kids come out of the same 2 parents? And they're so different. They're not even close to being the same. This one does this one does this one does this. And who's your parents? And I told one of my kids, we need to find out where your real parents are, because obviously they're looking for their kid that does all the things that you do. And because you do all the things that you do, maybe we got to check and see if there's the DNA there, if you're our child or not. But she knows I love her. But yes, whenever you have a parent and child that have different personalities, sometimes that's a struggle because you're trying to get them to do your personality. How do you deal with a person who has a different personality? Also, helping a bookworm be more of an extrovert and more sociable. Sometimes they're in that shell. They got a little shell like this. Hey, we got TV in here. We got video games. I got chips, dips. I got soda. I got all this big screen TV, nice couch here in my little shell. Why don't I want to get out of my shell? It's all great in here. This is fun in here. And if I get out of my shell, how am I going to react? How am I going to make friends? How am I going to have people not make fun of me? How am I going to do this? Well, a lot of that starts early on, earlier than when they're a bookworm. Earlier on, were they able to make friends, make decisions, and how did those things occur? We'll talk about that more as we go on in the future episodes. This is a huge one. This next one is number 8, and this one is huge. My kids are hanging around the wrong people. How do I tell them not to hang around those people anymore? Because here's what you get into, especially if it's a boyfriend, especially if it's a girlfriend, and you say, I don't want you hanging around that girl anymore. I don't want you hanging around that dude anymore. I don't want you hanging around those 3 friends of yours anymore. Here's what happens. Sometimes. Me and him against the world. Me and her against the world. Me and my friends against the world. You keep telling me I can't, and I'm gonna make sure that I do. I'm gonna do it behind your back. I'm gonna sneak out the window. I'm gonna go down the stairs. I'm gonna sneak out late at night. I'm gonna take the car and steal the car and take money out of mom's purse and go hang out with my friends. All because you said I can't. Then that I want to. And I'm going to find a way to get it done. I'm going to find a way to hang out with my boyfriend. I'm going to find a way to hang out with my girlfriend. I'm going to find a way to hang out with my friends that you don't want me hanging around. As soon as you say, don't do it, now what do? There might be a little bit different way sometimes to be able to do that a little bit more tactfully and be able to, I thought about this one day, on the ones that you don't want them to hang out with, say, oh my gosh, I like that Steve. Man, he's awesome. I like that Stacy. Wow, bring her over all the time. That's she's fantastic. Can you have her come over more often? Can you have him come over more often? Well, why do my parents like these people? Haven't done it yet, but I was just trying. See if that works for you. Number 9, preparing all the roads for my children, or preparing my children for all the roads. If each time your child comes up to a bad road, metaphorically, are you getting out there and fixing that road for them so they can cross over? If there's a hurdle in the way, are you getting out and pushing that hurdle over so they can step over it? Or are you teaching them how to deal with a messed up road? Teaching them how to deal with and cope with a hurdle in front of them, a adversity that they're going to have to deal with. Are you teaching them how to do that? Have you role played with them on how to do those things? Whenever you prepare the roads for your child, you're going to have to do it for a long, long time. Long after they're 18, long after they're out of college. Keep on going. If you've done that. In my opinion, you need to prepare your children for all the roads. It's tough because there's a lot of roads. There's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of hurdles. There's a lot of adversity that's going on there. How can you teach them all of those things? How do you teach them how to prepare for all the roads? Well, you got to reduce them down into just a few roads, a few things. And then those few, once you have the analytics knowledge base of how to do these few, then they're going to be able to veer out into other streams and other branches, other roads that they can be prepared for when they come up to. And number 10, which is the last one for this episode, is bullying and fighting. Why is my kid struggling, biting at daycare, either on the bullied end or the bullying end? Which one is your kid? Are they bullying? Are they getting bullied? Why are they struggling at school? Are they causing trouble? Are they having to go to the principal's office all the time? Are they having to get expelled or suspended from school? What things are going on there? Can you track it back to what happened when they were in daycare? Were they biting in daycare? Were they struggling with making friends or having people pay attention to them when they were in school, when they were in daycare, when they were younger? A lot of times that's what biting is at the daycare level. It is, I want my voice to be heard. I want you to pay attention to me. I'm trying to get this across. You're not letting me do it. I don't have the words to say. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bite. I'm going to bite you. Because this is how I get my frustration out, is I'm going to bite. I want to communicate, but I don't know the words to say. When you're fighting in school, and a lot of kids do it, obviously there's a lot of suspensions going on. That's why they have assistant principals, so they can go in there. Is if you're fighting at school and struggling at school, a lot of times it's, I just want somebody to hear what I have to say. I have something to say, no one's listening to me. Is there a way that somebody would listen to what I have to say so I can get this off my chest and I can make this point or say something to somebody and let them know how I'm feeling, let them know how I'm doing, and the only way I can do it is this person over here got in my way or this person over here is giving me trouble and I'm just going to fight with them. And then I'll get some attention now. Now I'll get some attention. The bullying thing, yeah, I got bullied when I was in school. The way it happens is a kid your own age gets somebody way older who's at the school. So when you're 6th grade, maybe that's an 8th grader. When you're in 9th grade, maybe it's a junior. Well, you're little and they're big. They're already grown. And you're still 4 foot tall and they're already 6 foot tall. So the kid this is the way it happened to me. The kid who was in my grade, his older brother was in the older grade. And he would say things like, hey, I need your lunch money. Hey, I need you to do this. Hey, I need you to go get this for me. I said, no. Okay, fine. And then the next thing you know, I see the big brother come over there. How much lunch money did you want? And it happened for a little while, just a little while, until one day I decided I was going to stand up to him. And to see the person now who was bullying me, I mean, the one that was doing the bullying, his older brother, both of them are little short punks, little pipsqueaks. I can't even believe it just so happened to be that I was only 4 foot tall that I even let that happen. And the main reason is I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to get in trouble at school. I didn't want to go to the principal's office. So I let it happen for a long time. Not a long time. It was maybe 2 months or whatever. But it was long enough that I remember it even now, back when I was in 8th, 9th grade, whenever it was. But all these things that we're talking about, all of the different topics that we discussed, that we're going to discuss later on, this is only 10 of them, we got about 30, is things that we're going to be going over in more detail throughout the different episodes, the different examples of sports and creating a good athlete and a good kid, raising a good kid, and then also all of our relationships that we talked about. And we appreciate you being here. This is our final time out. If you would, email us at Coach Okra at NoTimeoutsLeft.com here at the NoTimeoutsLeft.com studios. And don't let the renovation mess your... Also, this is not a penmanship class or a grammar class. So if I spell something wrong or if I don't have good penmanship, my letters aren't exact, that's my teacher's fault. They didn't teach me good cursive. They didn't teach me good printing when I was in school. Do they even teach cursive anymore? I don't know. But I'm doing the best I can. This is on a shoestring. I just wanted to get the information out there. If you guys care about it, send me some likes, shares, and hearts, and tell others about it if you would. And we will see you next time on NoTimeoutsLeft.com. Coach Okra.